Are you ready for some preseason football? We sure are. We got one game in the book, but oh my gosh, this upcoming weekend, we got all sorts of teams playing. And by all sorts of teams, I mean every team. So, with that being said, I think we should let you guys in on who you should watch if you catch any games this weekend at all. Who should you be looking at? There's a guy on each team that Jake and I both like. Jake, would you like to start off with the AFC East and pick whichever AFC East team you would like to go with first?
Sure. Let's start with the bottom of the division in the AFC East, the New York Jets. I think there's only one guy that everyone should have their eyes on for how he performs. I mean, all eyes are going to be on him during the regular season, too. That's Zach Wilson. I mean, very basic pick here. I went with quarterbacks a decent amount in my looking here, but all eyes are going to be on Zach Wilson. I am the harshest critic of Zach Wilson out of anyone I think I've seen post anything on the internet. Even pre-draft, this isn't just me as a Bills fan hating Zach Wilson. I do not like him as a quarterback prospect. I do think he can do some insane stuff, though. So I'm excited for the preseason highlights of him just going out there slinging it. Hopefully the Jets keep him in there for a decent amount too, because I think the more playing time, the better for him.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. My guy for the Jets, I feel like just judging by how you took that first one, we may have some really different picks because I had a decent amount of depth guys that I went with since they'll be in the games longer. But, for the Jets, obviously, I have to go with my number one safety in the class who has some really big injury concerns, who will now be playing linebacker for the New York Jets and Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh's linebackers are very important. Hamza Nasruddin out of Florida State. I am ready for him to take a look at the NFL. I'm excited to see how he transfers. I think he has a lot of skills that would have translated well as a safety, but even more so, there were kind of some worries with his speed being slower than other guys, and he had a knee injury, which means that he'll probably not be as fast as he was even before. So I guess it makes sense to move him to linebacker, and I like the opportunity for him there. Next team.
Yeah. The New England Patriots, and again, basic here, but this guy is a depth guy, and he is your favorite quarterback, and he will be getting a decent amount of playing time, and that is Mac Jones. I did go quarterback heavy, just gonna say, especially for the AFC, but Mac Jones is going to be interesting. I mean, just comparing how New England ran their offense last year to what they could be running it now with Mac Jones out there, like, the offense will look very different when Cam Newton is out there and Mac Jones, and it will be all the more drastic in preseason when it's like, all right, end of the first quarter, we just saw, some runs here, some little read option here that Cam didn't take. Okay, oh my God, it's just two tight ends, Mac Jones drop it back, sitting in the pocket all day. He's gonna be fun to watch. I hope I don't hope you're right because he's in the same division as my Buffalo Bills, but. He's going to be fun to watch, too, especially with those new weapons that New England's bringing in.
Your Buffalo Bills just signed Josh Allen to a 6-year contract extension, though. So if you're talking about quarterback versus quarterback, I'm still going to give the advantage to our guy at this point, even though Mac Jones was my number one QB for this class. I'm very excited to have him for a long time coming. But for the Patriots, there's this young guy named Matt Slater that I think really... No, I'm kidding. But everybody knows Matt Slater now. If you've followed the NFL a decent bit, he's a solid special teamer for him. I got to go with Ramondre Stevenson. This is a guy I was talking about before the draft, saying I need him to go to Baltimore or New England. Those are one of the two locations I need him to end up at. These running backs are going to get work. Bill Belichick isn't going to ever completely abandon the run game. He likes to have a decent power run game, and I feel like their offensive line gives them a nice chance to do that this season, and I feel like Ramondre Stevenson, just because of how that entire building works, he isn't going to come in and immediately have the starting job, so he's going to play a lot in the preseason, and I think he'll show off in the preseason. Who you got next, the Dolphins?
Yeah, I got the Dolphins next, and not a quarterback, but still a first-round pick here. That dies down eventually, but I had to... Jaylen Waddle is going to be the guy to watch here. Just the college connection with Tua, and also them having an identical clone to him and Will Fuller already on the team, I think just their wide receiver core in general is going to be something to watch because you got guys that can stretch the field, burn defensive backs, and a quarterback that can't really push the ball downfield that much. So I wonder how is Chan Gailey still the offensive coordinator there?
Oh
if he is, I
no,
wonder how.
no. You missed out. They're actually running a really new approach to football, and they're running a dual offensive coordinator system. Yeah, that's what they're doing down there in Miami, and I can't remember either of the guys' names off the top of my head, but it's really unique. They're doing something that nobody else has done before. But yeah, that's what's going on there. So you'll have to ask those two guys once it gets to the season. It'll be interesting to see how that offense plays.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, just looking at their wide receiver depth, I'm like, this guy's fast. This guy's fast. Okay, this guy's fast. Okay. None of these guys really like specialize in like short route running that Tua would thrive off of. It's all like, let me get downfield.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I would say the difference between Will Fuller and Jaylen Waddle that you kind of have is I feel like Jaylen Waddle catches a short pass and can take it the distance a lot more often than Will Fuller can. But there's no doubt that they can both stretch the field. And then if you say Will Fuller does the stretching the field, Jakeem Grant can be the other replacement guy to Jaylen Waddle in terms of catching the ball short and then making a lot happen after the catch. My guy for the Dolphins, though, isn't even a rookie. He's a guy who's been in the league for a little while, and I swear when he gets on the field, he makes a decent amount of plays, but for some reason, it feels like teams are pushing him away for whatever reason, and that's Shakeem Griffin. I like what he's done, and he's on their roster now, and I'm pretty sure he'll be a little bit down the depth chart, but he should see significant playing time this preseason, and he's the guy that I'm interested to watch again because he's always a fun player to watch just because we're rooting for him because, you know, he's got a disadvantage that nobody else has. It's insane that he can be that successful at this level. You know, with missing a hand, that's pretty difficult just to make it to the NFL, let alone with that disadvantage. So it's a guy that I'm definitely rooting for and a guy I would watch when the Dolphins are playing this preseason.
Yeah, great special teamer. All right, now to the Bills here. I also have a guy that is not a rookie for the Bills here, but he technically going into his rookie season kind of didn't play at all that season, spent the whole year on IR. That's Isaiah Hodgins, 7th round pick for the Bills last year. Big body receiver. Was the second receiver taken after Gabe Davis, and a bunch of draft analysts were saying that he was the better receiver than Gabe Davis. That excites me because Gabe Davis looked pretty good last season, and if Isaiah Hodgins is better than him, I mean, I welcome that. But he's in a tight competition with Aaron Rodgers, his former #1 favorite receiver, and Jake Kumaro, fighting for that 6th or 7th wide receiver spot. So I think it's just going to be a big play competition of these two big body receivers, who goes up and gets the most balls and who does better on special teams.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. Even though it was only like 2 or 3 years ago when the Bills literally had like the worst receiving core in the league by far with Josh Allen's rookie year, it's really annoying because it's felt like over the past 3 years, we've always had trouble figuring out like who the depth guys are going to be. Just like for whatever reason, they've always been like, oh man, it feels like we've got like 10 guys at the receiver position that I wouldn't be mad if they made the roster, and we got to cut it down to 6. That's really annoying. But my guy for the Buffalo Bills that I am selecting for who I'm most excited to watch this preseason is Mitch Trubisky. He's playing against ones his entire career. I mean, he's not a crazy athlete or anything, but I have no doubt that he's at least a competent player on the football field, better than a lot of backups in the league for other teams, heck of a lot better. And I feel like he could be a starter in a time of need. So him going versus twos, having a lot of experience in the NFL, I don't see any reason that he shouldn't have a lot of success, and I think he's going to be fun to watch for the Bills this season. What division would you like to go to next?
Let's take it to the AFC North here. Starting with the Cincinnati Bengals. Guy that I'm really watching out for is Tyler Shelvin. I'm just kidding. Joseph Osai. Not high on anyone really in this edge class. You and I both feel that way. But if like just these weird guys that are pure speed. I want to see how they like operate and how they work, because I have some of the other ones on this list too, especially with Cincinnati now that they lost Carlos Dunlap and they're bringing in other guys. He's gonna see some time in the rotation, and I'm very interested to see how this edge class will turn out, because everyone seemed to be high on these guys, and then watching them, it's like none of these dudes really jump off the page. Nothing to really write home about for any of these guys. So I'm interested to see how all of these edge rushers will perform in the preseason.
Yeah, Carl Lawson was a big loss for the Bengals, and I think that Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard are both solid players, but then in terms of like spelling them, I think Joseph Osai is the next guy, so I like that pick. But the guy I'm going to go with at the same position as Tyler Shelvin. However, I'm not going to go with Tyler Shelvin because, gosh, no. But, he's got Mike Daniels and DJ Reader sitting in front of him, so he's kind of going to be the spell guy in this unit, I think, at the defensive tackle position. And that's Larry Ogunjobi. I just think that he's a pretty solid. I think he's a pretty solid defensive player that is just getting pushed down the depth chart because of other guys they have on the roster, and him, just like Mitch Trubisky, is a guy on the team that really is good enough to be like a low tier starter in the NFL, but going against two should be able to make some noise for his team.
Yeah. Going to Cleveland now. I mean, there's only one guy you could really talk about for the Cleveland Browns in preseason, and that's JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, stud linebacker. Probably, I mean, consensus with us, best defensive player in the entire draft.
Yeah.
He is a stud athlete. I cannot wait to watch him play. Hopefully his injury or health issue that he had doesn't affect him that much. I mean, it shouldn't. He's been practicing with the team this whole offseason, so I want to see him go out there and pop somebody. Very excited for JOK to hit the field.
Yeah, and I kind of knew you would pick him, and I would have picked him obviously too, but just because I wanted to try to have different guys as much as we could. The other guy that we've talked about on here that we have no idea, I mean, off the field concerns, obviously, but Marvin Wilson, defensive tackle from Florida State, also came out in this class, and we thought he was a pretty solid defensive tackle who looked really athletic and could do a lot of things for his team. So just the fact that he went undrafted because of off the field concerns, like I said, makes him be a guy that probably not a lot of people are going to be familiar with, but a guy that's really talented and could definitely do enough this preseason to earn himself a roster spot.
Yeah. For Baltimore now, I have Tylan Wallace, wide receiver, the second wide receiver that the Ravens took. Not Rashad Bateman. I have seen great things about Rashad Bateman, clips of him just mossing some guys in that great secondary for Baltimore. But Tylan Wallace just really fascinated me pre-draft, just because everyone had him very low, like going in the 5th round, which I think he went in the 4th. But they had him going late. I'm like, this guy's top 10 wide receiver in his class. He looks so much bigger than he actually is, just because of his hops and the ability to stretch the field. I don't want to say he looks like Randy Moss, because he doesn't. Like, I'm not going to put that on him. But if there was anyone that looked close to Randy Moss in this draft class that wasn't really, it's Tylan Wallace, and I'm excited to see him go out there, probably play against some twos, have Trace McSorley slinging him the rock out there. Very excited to watch him.
Yeah, I'm too. Those receivers are going to be really interesting to watch for the Ravens. I just got to say, there's a ton of guys on this team, though, that I'm interested in watching. I mean, one of the things first is that the Ravens kind of recently have been a really fun team to watch in the preseason, just because I feel like they're willing to be more creative than other teams are and show a little more in the preseason than other teams do, just because they know they're innovative enough that showing a few things in the preseason won't screw them up. But I mean, there's guys like Ben Mason, who's now playing tight end, who was a fullback in college. That's an interesting one. Ardarius Washington, who's now wearing number 47, which I can't imagine how disgusting that's going to look. And there's even a guy named Kenji Barhar from Monmouth, who's a quarterback that's going to be playing for them, who looked a little interesting. But actually, the guy I'm going to go with is a different quarterback named Tyler Huntley, who actually managed to play in some regular season and the postseason last year. And he's a really interesting guy for me. I like him a lot. Just in terms of like what he was able to do in the position he's in. He's a third string quarterback. I didn't think that there was much from him that seemed like he really acted like a third string quarterback. I thought, the Ravens offense definitely helped him being able to run around a bit more than he would in other offenses. But I liked what I saw from him. I think he's an exciting player to go into the preseason with. He'll be fun to watch with the third string unit for the Baltimore Ravens. Who do you got for the Pittsburgh Steelers, since we already saw them in one game?
And for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I have cornerback / safety Trey Norwood. It might have been someone else going in this. I might have put Dwayne Haskins here, but after watching the Hall of Fame game the other day, very impressed with his play. Had a great breakup on the goal line. I want to see more of him. 7th round pick, just listed as defensive back for the Steelers right now if you look at their official roster. So he's still trying to find a role, going to be all over the place. And I love guys that are like that because you see more opportunity to see him if he's playing a bunch of different positions.
Yeah, I agree with you. He was an interesting guy to watch. And I just thought, and speaking of quarterbacks, like we said in the review of the game, if you haven't checked that out, go back on the channel. You can check that out now. But the guy at quarterback that impressed us the most was obviously Josh Dobbs. For me, though, the guy I'm sticking with that I said, I think, kind of before the game and then after in the recap that I'm still watching this preseason is Calen Bellage. I still think that he's a really interesting guy that came over from the Chargers, and I think he can do a lot for this team, just help the run game more because they need more than one guy being just Najee Harris to keep the run game sound this season, and I think he helps the team this year.
All right. Let's take things to the AFC West. Talk about them. For the Denver Broncos, I'm thinking Drew Lock here. I am going to be watching those two quarterbacks play because whoever performs the best is getting that starting job, and that might decide on whether they have a top 10 pick or they just miss the playoffs and have a bad pick, depending on who the quarterback is there and how they perform. I mean, I want Drew Lock to succeed, but when you have an audio bite of your offensive coordinator saying, yeah, today we're actually practicing on throwing incompletions, it's really hard to find it in me to think that he is going to ball out this season.
That's fair enough. I'm going a different way. I know we're going to watch that QB battle closely, but they've got two guys that are going to be the number 1 and number 2 running backs who I'm at least okay with, I guess, but I know that this guy's just going to get relegated to the third running back role, which he's way too good for, and he's going to light up some third stringers in terms of what he's able to do. And that's Mike Boone coming over from Minnesota, also was a third string running back there, was hoping to come to Denver and actually become a little bit more than that, but he's not going to have that opportunity because of ways they went throughout the rest of free agency and the draft. So he's going to get stuck against some bad competition, and he's going to look good against that bad competition.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be fun to watch, and he might even earn a higher role on that team if Javonte Williams proves that he can only play well for 1 or 2 games a season.
Don't say that. What team's next?
The Las Vegas Raiders, and for them, I have a guy that is not a rookie, not a second-year player. He's been in the league for a while now. Jonathan Abram. The Raiders just love overhauling that safety room, and he has stuck it out for the past 3 seasons when it seems like they come in and sweep through and put 5 new guys in there and come in and sweep through. For the past 3 seasons, he's stayed there. And I think now with Trayvon Moehrig and the other guys that they brought in, Divine Diablo, they even drafted another safety. He has to prove that he is that safety. Like, he is a top safety on that team. Because if he isn't, the Raiders have no problem just getting rid of the good and decent players. They'll just cut him at the end of this preseason if he does not play well. So I am rooting for Jonathan Abram so he can make this team and actually play well, and hopefully not have any injury problems like he has the past couple seasons.
Yeah, I've liked John Abram like the entire time he's been there, basically, minus the fact that I still think he needs to wear some different sleeves because he's the only one playing in the entire league that is not a quarterback that is wearing those ugly sleeves off his jersey. But that's besides the point. They've got one of my favorite college football players ever, Marcus Mariota, so I can't go any other way. I'm excited to watch Marcus Mariota play more for this team, and I you just know, I can't lie to the fans. There's no one on this team I'm more excited to watch than Marcus Mariota this preseason if I catch a Raiders game. Also, just because I was looking through the roster and picking some guys, I noted that Zay Jones changed his number to 7, so does that mean he can get back to college production level? Because kind of the highest producing receiver in college football history. What do you think, real quick?
Sure.
Hey, I doubt it. All right, who you got for the next team?
For the Chargers, I mean, now that Calen Bellage is on the Steelers, they need a backup running back. They found the answer in Larry Roundtree the third in the draft. Got him in the 7th round here, running back. All that I really wrote for him pre-draft was this guy's a goal line machine, and you'd expect a guy with the last name of Roundtree to be a goal line machine, just barreling himself in there, which he does. So I'm excited to see how they're going to use this guy, who is basically a fullback that plays running back, and he's their second running back now. Like, they just took a 7th round flyer on who's going to be their backup running back.
Absolutely. What's funny is I've actually got a guy at the same position as you, but I don't. It's not the same guy, and it's not one of the 2 top guys either. Because I would say Austin Eckler's the number 1, and probably Justin Jackson at this point is the number 2.
Mm-hmm.
The guy I'm watching this preseason for the Chargers is really Josh Kelly, because I feel like he should, like, he's a guy that should be figuring out a way to get onto the field more. But the draft pick of some guy like Larry Roundtree, as you said, shows that they're not necessarily too confident in him. So Josh Kelly is really kind of in a boomer bust year for his career in terms of, like, at least with the Chargers. He's the guy that should be having that power back role in this offense, looking, as I said, at Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson being the other guys that I think will be playing downs for this offense once the season actually comes around. But he should be doing everything he can in his power to go out and actually get that power back role, because I've been waiting for him to take over for a long time and get a decent amount of carries, and he hasn't been able to, and I don't know why not. I'm ready for him to do something more.
Yeah, and you know what they say. Third string running backs win or lose you championships. So you and I both have the right idea looking at this for the Chargers. And then rounding out the division with Kansas City, I have Noah Gray, tight end, as my player to watch for them. I don't think Travis Kelce is going to get any snaps in the preseason, nor do I think Pat Mahomes is, or Tyreek Hill, or anyone that's really important to that Chiefs team is going to get snaps. That seems to be the direction that teams are moving in now, not even letting the veteran guys get out there and play. I don't have a problem with that. If you don't want the guy to get hurt, don't play him, but he's going to look kind of rusty. But Noah Gray, I think he's going to be tight end 1 for him. Whoever he's working with, whether that be Sam Buchelli or Chad Henne, whoever is out there. Oh, that's great. Those 2 guys' last names rhyme. Just realized that. That's awesome. But who's ever out there slinging the rock to him, I think he's going to be all right. I mean, he's a consistent routine play tight end. Not going to really be Travis Kelce in any sense, but he's going to be the safety blanket tight end. Travis Kelce goes out there and makes plays, you're going to have Noah Gray running out there into the flat and just standing there ready to get you a 3-yard gain. So if he can consistently make some cool catches, I mean, this is going to be his time to make cool catches in the preseason, because he's not going to in the regular season.
All right.
So yeah, I'm excited to see what he does.
All right, that's an interesting one. That's not even a guy who is on my radar, so I'll have to keep a watch out for him when I check out some Chiefs games, but I definitely want to be checking out some Chiefs games this preseason because, as you said, kind of, you got it half right. Sam Ellinger and Shane Buchelli are not like one and the same. But Shane Buchelli,
very similar though.
Shane Buchelli was one of my favorite quarterbacks coming out in this draft. Not like actually in terms of talent level, just in terms of like I think he's a fun guy. I want to watch him play some football. And you know what's unfair about this is the fact that we've talked about this Chiefs team before, and if they had Jordan Ta'amu still on it, it would be a ridiculously stacked quarterback room. It would be impossible. But QB3 and QB4 are going to be just as interesting to me because they got my most fun quarterback in this year's draft, and they got my most fun quarterback from last year's draft too, in Anthony Gordon. I couldn't pick one of the two in this. I love them both just because, there's got to be a stupid late round quarterback every year that you fall in love with if you're any sort of real football fan. So Shane Buchelli and Anthony Gordon, I'm excited to watch both of them. Even if Patrick Mahomes doesn't play at all, I'm super excited for the Chiefs quarterback room this preseason.
Oh, yeah. And the last division, the AFC, the South, Jacksonville here. Let's start it off. Trevor Lawrence, too easy here. Even though I had a bunch of easy quarterback ones, I'm not looking at Lawrence here. I'm looking at the other guy from Clemson that they drafted. The guy that I watched a bunch in the leading up to the draft because I thought the Bills were going to take him, and I was like, oh yeah, I would love this guy, number 1 running back, awesome, Travis Etienne. He's gonna be fun. They had him playing wide receiver in rookie minicamp. I don't know what Urban Meyer is going to do with him. If they have him playing some type of mix of wide receiver and running back, that would be fun. Don't know how much of their hand they're going to show in the preseason, though. But if I see him line up in the slot for the first snap for the Jags preseason game, I'm going to shake my head because they could have just drafted up or traded up a couple spots and taken Kadarius Toney. But instead they waited, and then they take a running back that they want to move to receiver. Either way, I'm going to be excited to see what Urban Meyer does with him.
Okay. I'm just sitting here thinking about this, and let me just sell you on this 10 personnel look for the Jaguars really quick, okay? All right, we got James Robinson in the backfield. Probably one of the best undrafted, bar none, the best undrafted rookie from last season by far. The running back position. Then at the quarterback position, we have the undisputed number 1 generationally talented quarterback of the last, say, 8 years at least. Then out wide at the left wide receiver position, we have DJ Chark, one of the most underrated receivers in all of football. On the opposite side, starting out wide, we have one of the only players, actually the only player in NFL history to have multiple 4-touchdown reception games in Marvin Jones. Then, out of the left slot, we have one of the most elusive, just valuable in terms of being able to play any position on the field players in the league in Jamal Agnew. And out of the right slot, we got Travis Etiet, a first-round pick from this season, who played for one of the best programs in college and looked amazing like Alvin Kamara at Clemson. Can you just imagine that offense for a second? With that said, they're going about 6-11 this season, but I'm excited.
With that said, they're still drafted in the top 10.
Yeah, Jaguars are exciting. And with all that said, I just sold you on all those guys. Now I'm going to tell you why Tim Tebow's the most fun player on the team. Yeah, but I'm excited to watch Tim Tebow, of course. Come on, he hasn't been in the league for 8 years or so? I mean, maybe even longer than that. I'm just excited to watch Tebow play some preseason football, even if he's playing at tight end. He's a guy that we can all root for just because we know he's a good guy. I mean, how can you not root for him? And even though they have all those guys that I already mentioned on offense, and then they have a bunch of rookies on defense too that are guys that I would really want to say are fun to watch. Seriously, honestly, just in terms of number of guys on a team that are going to be exciting to check out this offseason, the Jags are near the top. They're going to be one of the most exciting preseason teams to watch. But yeah, I'm still going with Tim Tebow because there's no other story like it in the NFL. I mean, how can you go away from Tim Tebow here?
Yeah, you're right. Now, for a team that may be the most exciting in preseason, let's go to a team that may not be exciting at all in the preseason and isn't going to be exciting at all in the regular season, in the Houston Texans.
Oh.
The AFC South for me is just a division of backs, all right? Everyone here is just a back, whether that be cornerback, running back, or quarterback here for the Texans. Biggest meme of the offseason for this podcast in Davis Mills. I'm going to be watching him. I need to see if he lives up to that name, if he's just going to be a stone cold statue in the pocket and getting killed behind an offensive line that can't block for anything.
Man, we got this far through it, and I was like, no way. Are we actually going to be able to make it through the whole AFC without having one guy cross over as the guy to watch? But no, I mean, this roster, in terms of looking, like, I praise them for the fact that they actually went out and got, like, some really good value this offseason. Like, their team's still not going to be good, but in terms of, like, value, they had one of, like, the best off seasons in terms of how much they were paying guys for what they were getting in return. But you're just trying to find young guys that are going to excite on this roster. There's not a ton of them. And if they are, I mean, they're like offensive tackles like Lermy Tunzel or something. That's not too terribly exciting. So Davis Mills is the rookie quarterback coming onto this team that really is kind of the only guy I felt like was even an option to pick. So yeah, it's Davis Mills for me as well.
Yeah, I was going to put Brevin Jordan down, and then I realized if I put Brevin Jordan down, who's going to be throwing the ball to him? Davis Mills. I have to put Davis Mills down there.
You have to mention that this team has like 12 mediocre tight ends too, which even if Brevin Jordan gets to like his highest potential, it is still just a mediocre tight end. So he just becomes like one of the cogs in the system. Like he's not any more useful to this team than any other guy. So that was just one of the variety of reasons that we can't be confident in this team, looking at least into the near future.
And for rookies, they only had like 3 or 4 to choose from, so it's not like you can. Yeah. The Colts now, with this Carson Wentz news coming out, I had to go quarterback too, and I mean Sam Ellinger would be fun to watch, or he's going to be fun to watch. I don't know why I said would be, like something happened to him. He's going to be fun to watch, but it seems like they've reached a consensus on the guy that will be starting week 1 if Wentz can't play, and that's Jacob Eason. And I love some Washington quarterbacks because those guys just let that ball fly. They just let that ball fly. Gardner Minshew, Jacob Eason, Anthony Gordon, all of them. They just don't care. And also,
can I cut you off here for a second?
Yeah.
I think Jacob Eason did go to Washington, but Gardner Minshew and Anthony Gordon went to Washington State. But I mean, they all played in the same state, so you're kind of right.
All played in the same state, yeah. All right, all those Washington boys.
There you go.
Fix that. Yeah, Jacob Eason, Jake Fromm's backups, or guys that Jake Fromm stole jobs from, they're really making a comeback now in the NFL. Jacob Eason has potential to start week 1. Justin Fields is going to be starting at some point in the season. Jake Fromm's a 3rd-string quarterback. Yeah, he's got a cannon for an arm. I'm excited to see what he does. I mean, T.Y.'s back. He's got guys to throw to. Not that T.Y.'s going to play much at all in the preseason, but it's going to be a good evaluation for him before the regular season game if they need him to play, which, I mean, 5 to 12 weeks. I think I'm leaning more towards the 12 there if you're leaving that much of a gap.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because you got both these guys and they're basically both acting as rookie quarterbacks in some sense, at least in terms of the preseason, because Jacob Eason would have gotten to play last year if he had if there were preseason games. And since there wasn't, he didn't. But yeah, I had to go with the quarterback room as well for whatever reason. Realistically, it's basically only recency bias, but I'm excited to watch Sam Ellinger because I do remember what I saw from him more this offseason than what I saw from Jacob Eason last season. And that's really the only reason I picked Ellinger over Eason. But yeah, I mean, he'll be in the games longer too. I guess that's a reason I could say because they're probably not going to want Jacob Eason to get hurt now. That would be really bad if they lost him too.
Yeah. Well, also, another quarterback, too. I can't remember his name, but he said that he could throw the ball 100 yards in the air, so I'm interested to watch him play, too, if he gets in, because you can't make a statement like that and not just beg Frank Reich to dial up a shot play where you could just sail it on the 1 yard line.
Yes, I would love that. That would be absolutely amazing. I'll be ready to watch him. The Colts will be a fun team. The Colts will be a fun team to watch too. This preseason, just because no matter who's playing at quarterback, it's the guy that excites you. One of the annoying things that can happen in preseason football is that just like you have backups and you have really boring backup QBs.
Yeah,
And that doesn't seem like it's gonna happen this year, which is nice.
yeah. And then ending the AFC South, the Tennessee Titans. Best slot corner in the entire draft, Elijah Molden. Gonna be watching him a ton. My eyes are gonna be glued to him when I watch the Titans play in preseason. You could have gone with some other guys here. Fan favorite for me, Logan Woodside. Maybe, but he might not even be the backup anymore now that they signed Bitcoin Barkley. So, Logan Woodside could be on the move. Watch out for that. Elijah Molden, though, heck of a slot corner. You and I both thought that he could go in the second round if teams valued slot corner, which they should, or nickel corner. But they don't for some reason. And it seems like every team is moving towards playing nickel more, but they don't want to take another corner that can play that nickel role. It's so stupid.
Yeah. So, I had a backup for this one because I was wondering if you would pick Elijah Molden, guy from Atlanta who's kind of had decent. He's had decent spurts while he's been there. I like him. A guy that's definitely going to be playing a lot once Derrick Henry isn't in the game. Derrick Henry may not even feel the need to play in preseason. So Brian Hill, I like him out of the backfield. He's a fun guy. I'm surprised he decided to sign with Tennessee to basically guarantee that he won't play at all this season. But it's fine because he'll play a ton in preseason and they won't be afraid to keep handing him the rock over and over again because everybody knows once it gets to the regular season, they're selling out on Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with the Titans just wanting smaller, compact running backs behind Derrick Henry that are good at pass blocking. That's like all that they want.
Nah, he can do a little bit more than that, but Yeah. So that finishes off the AFC for us, does it not?
Yeah, it does.
Alrighty, boys. Well, if you enjoyed that one, we should be back tomorrow. If we do this correctly, we should be back tomorrow with the NFC recording of this. So, you all set, Jake?
Yeah, think we can cut this here.